Welcome back to Baltic Boss Babes, the podcast where we celebrate the trailblazers redefining success in the Baltic region and beyond. Today, we're honoured to introduce Kamila Ogletska, a remarkable leader who's raised over 112 million euros to support deep tech startups. With expertise in biophysics and biotech, Kamila has mastered the art of turning groundbreaking science into thriving global businesses. Her journey spans Sweden, Singapore, Switzerland, and back to Poland, where she continues to mentor entrepreneurs, craft award-winning funding applications, and excel as an angel investor. From her research breakthroughs to her impactful consulting work, Kamila is a true inspiration. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 5.
All right, welcome back, Baltic Boss Babes, where we celebrate the movers, shakers, and trailblazers of the Baltic region and beyond. Today's guest is the epitome of innovation, ambition, and global impact. Please join me in welcoming the incredible Kamila Ogletska. As the managing director at Insulting, Kamila has raised a jaw-dropping 112 million to empower deep tech startups. With her sharp expertise in biophysics, biotech, and go-to-market strategies, Kamila bridges the gap between cutting-edge science and successful global business ventures. From her early days decoding the mysteries of cell-penetrating peptides to becoming an angel investor and strategic consultant, Kamila has been instrumental in turning visionary ideas into tangible success. Whether she's crafting award-winning European funding applications or mentoring deep tech entrepreneurs, her passion for innovation shines through. But that's not all. Kamila speaks multiple languages, navigates complex funding landscapes with ease, and still finds time to contribute to groundbreaking publications in life sciences. Talk about a true Baltic boss babe, right? So, get ready for an inspiring conversation as we dive into Kamila's journey, explore how she's redefining innovation, and uncover her secrets to turning visionary science into global success stories. Let's get started. Hey, Kamila, it's so good to see you today.
Oh, hi, it's a pleasure and honor, and thank you very much for this amazing introduction.
Well, we do our research. So let's dive right in. I mean, the CV of yours, it talks for itself, but we always love to hear the in-depth and undercover stories of how you actually became this amazing boss babe that you are today. So yeah, could you give us a brief introduction and a little brief of your journey from, this young Kamila who was just coming out of high school, for example, up to, today where you are making life science happen?
Yes, well, my pleasure. So maybe we should start even earlier because since we are talking about Baltic regions, well, I grew up in Poland, but I moved to Sweden at a very young age. I spent about 6 months maybe in a Polish kindergarten. And my mom and I moved to Stockholm where this is my mother tongue, Swedish. So if I have a Swedish accent, that's the reason for it. And I completed my education there and until my PhD, which I did in biophysics at Stockholm University. And I came back to Poland that I had actually missed a lot, I must say, despite the fact that I hadn't grown up here. So I took a detour via Singapore and Switzerland, but I eventually came home and I am now living in Krakow since 8 years. And it feels like home despite not having roots in the city. So this is my Baltic journey, you could say. The scientific journey, well, it kind of came because I was always super curious about science and I wanted to understand how things worked. So I became an academic, mostly because I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. So the PhD was kind of a a reason to stay longer in academia while figuring out what I wanted to do with my life. And I realized that probably pharma would be a good place for me. So I figured I will do a couple of postdocs and I will go into industry. And I think this is when I got my first brush with reality, understanding that people in industry would have actually preferred people to come in much earlier, maybe even during their masters, start their career early and build themselves upwards. So essentially, they thought I would not be able to make the transition very easily. So it was harder than I thought. Instead, I got the opportunity to go into consulting. And I have stayed there since a decade now because I have seen that I can really make an impact. And it's very fast how little time it takes before you can actually see that you have contributed to something meaningful. And this is what I really love about my job.
Amazing. So yeah, I'm curious, have there been any events or pivotal decisions that you have made? Like you are saying that you took some detours in Singapore and Switzerland before you actually moved to Poland. So can I assume that these have been some sort of decisions that help you to shape the way you are today? Or, maybe you can recall some time when you were actually thinking about going two different directions, and then, you made this decision, or maybe there was something that inspired you to make this specific decision, which led you to being a consultant today.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the thing with academia, the big plus, I would say, is the flexibility of being able to collaborate with groups internationally and actually gain a lot of life experiencing and have the job, at least a temporary position even, as an excuse to move somewhere that you would probably not see otherwise. So when I was contemplating doing a postdoc, I definitely was trying to look for something that would take me far away, and not with the intent to stay forever, but a postdoc, I thought I would do it for about 2 years. And I was actually really eager to move somewhere that was much warmer and brighter than Sweden. So it was quite with an intent that I was looking for positions around the equator. And it was by accident that I applied to Singapore. A friend of mine had started his business there, and I went to visit him and realized that Singapore was investing a lot in intellectual property and research, and they had phenomenal resources to do science. One of the few places probably in academia where you do not have financial issues as a roadblock to actually doing things that you would like to do, because normally you would not be able to maybe afford an instrument for that would allow you to do super exciting experiments. So that really panned out very well. And I really value also the experience of being in a different culture. And the move to Singapore came about because I met my husband to be in Singapore, and he wanted to do his PhD at ETH in Zurich. So that's why we moved, essentially. And we also wanted it was time to kind of come back home, and we wanted to start a family, essentially. And I got into consulting because even living in Switzerland, I had been outside of the EU's system for more than 5 years. And that meant that I needed to have a job in the EU to get back into something. So I thought I was going to be looking a job later, but I found that I really, really liked this job. So instead, I stayed with it and developed within it.
That's amazing. I mean, speaking about, maneuvering through different kind of career forks and everything, are there some people who have influenced you over the years, or, you just went by your gut? Like, I'm curious, how was your decision making process all through this journey?
Well, I think that people who have influenced me definitely have been every person who has been in a closer collaboration with me, as well as some of my teachers that I really owe a lot of my choices to. I remember, for example, one one teacher who I was pestering with questions a lot during my university years. And he said, why don't you just go take a course in biophysics? They give it at Stockholm University because everything you ask is biophysics. And I figured, what is that? That sounds intriguing. And then that's what I stayed with, actually. It opened up a completely different reality to what I had understood was possible to do with nature. It was like treating nature's building blocks as Lego and building whatever you wanted. People are doing synthetic life and DNAs that have protein backbones, etc. So for me, it was like a big box of toys. So very interesting.
Oh, that is actually very fascinating. I mean, the possibility to see the world that way. I'm curious, since we are all about empowering women and everything, like, have you encountered, all through your journey being a woman and in science and biophysics out of all the respective fields, like, have you encountered any gender stereotypes or some sort of a discrimination? Although I do feel that it's a bit of a strong word for this case. But, have you ever felt people kind of side looking at you, like you being woman and in physics and being a mother as well? So what's your experience in this area?
So my experience is that probably I was quite lucky being educated in Sweden, where people do tend to look at your credentials more than who you are, where you're from, and your gender. But on the other hand, I have encountered a lot of women who have very sad stories, and I think I've been trying to support them. Also, I am a person who is I'm a strong personality, if I may say so. And maybe part of coming off as a strong woman has to do with the fact that I think if you consider that the male and female brain are different somehow, I think maybe my brain is more male than female. And my interests typically, maybe stereotypically male. So going into science and choosing biophysics, I also have a passion for motorcycles. I joined the army in Sweden because I was just curious. We do not have to do that as women. I think I was one out of 200 women that year that did the army, and I was there for 14 months. So not just a quick in and out, and I really liked it. All these things, I was thriving in an environment where it was like really male dominated. And now I am, like you mentioned, I'm trying to dabble in angel investing, and the VC world is also very male dominated. I deal with a lot of CEOs, and while actually I do have the pleasure to meet a lot of strong female CEOs, nevertheless, of course, most tech teams are male dominated. So this is not really have been an issue for me personally, but I think I see that this is a problem based on women that I meet. And I've heard quite heartbreaking stories from time to time about how this discrimination, and it truly was discrimination, have, for example, cost them investments, etc. One told me, for example, that because she was distracting a VC with her blonde hair, he couldn't focus on her pitch and told her so directly.
Oh my God. No.
Yes, you don't really know what to say in that situation because it's just so wrong on so many levels. By being a mother, no. I think also due to COVID, we are all kind of more relaxed with having meetings with children running around in the back. My children are actually, although they're not very old, 8 and 9 years old, they really are super curious about what I do for a living. They want to say hi to my clients and are often asking, how things are going and are curious about the innovations as well. So I tend to tell people that the NDAs I sign, they are also for the kids because they will find out. They hear my calls.
I think they have inherited your curiosity in their brain as well. So, we might be expecting new generation of fellow scientists growing up, no?
Yes, no, I'm very aware that I am not speaking to them as if they were children. And when we do things for fun, I want to take them to places that you can do, science experiments for kids, etc. So they don't have a choice. And now my daughter also likes being driven around on the motorcycle. So, it's active influencing.
That's cool. But I mean, speaking of different kind of women being out there, I mean, you being in consulting, I'm pretty sure that you have quite a lot of encounters with different kind of women. And I mean, the thing that I am usually curious about, and I hope that our listeners are too, is regarding different kind of encounters that you have had with women. Like, for example, there is a girl, who's relatively shy, let's say, and she's still being really passionate about science and technology, and she kind of feels that she would want to be in the industry or something. Like, what would be something that you would say to these young ladies coming out or growing up and thinking like, yeah, well, I mean, you can see that she's a powerhouse, like, I am not good enough. So what would be something that you could say to them?
No, I think self-awareness is an important tool to start making changes. And to a certain extent, if shyness is your big challenge, then fake it until you make it, and practice makes perfect. There are many tools you can implement to try to improve, for example, how you pitch to VCs or how you are presenting yourself. You have to work on your own self-image, maybe specifically because you have to encounter men who are maybe already negatively biased, even if they're not aware of it. So you can record yourself pitching. You can listen to yourself, for example, without the video to see what it is you say, how you say it. If you sound nervous and, polish these things, you can also do the opposite. You can turn off your audio and look how you are appearing, at least to yourself, right? You can ask your friends as well. Do you have a body language that you think signals confidence? Or do you have some, you have to kind of make a list of positive and negative things and then enforce the positive one. And when you are aware, for example, that you're speaking very silently, then that's something that you actively work on. And immediately, you will see a big improvement in how you present yourself. And I think you can do these things regardless of what it is that you are feeling is holding you back. Maybe people are disorganized and, well, there are so many tools to try to organize your workflow. A simple calendar is something that I cannot live without. If it's not in my calendar, I probably will forget it because we just keep too much information in our heads.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I have been a victim of this. We have been trying to get Kamila on our show for quite some time now. And I mean, I have to say, if I don't book a call with her in the calendar, it's not gonna happen. So please respect your calendars and other people's too. So, yep, just a funny side note.
People have a lot of nice tools that say, for example, here's my calendar or something. And when you see a spot, just book it. And then when you look at your calendar for the next week, it's pretty much, 90% full. So if somebody didn't already beat you to it, it's very difficult to just, be super flexible, because I do have a lot of calls. And I think this is a really, really fun part of my job, that even though I'm actually working from home, I never feel isolated. And I've been doing this for like a decade. I used to go to offices as well, but for more than 5 years, probably at least 6 years, I've been working from home, and I never feel alone. There's always, kind of a team. The people I support, I see them as a team that I'm part of for months or sometimes years. There's a very meaningful exchanges. Yeah. We have to be able to face tough times and really positive times together. So it brings people together.
That's nice. Oh, no, I have so many follow-up questions. I need to pick one. I'm curious, we all go through difficult times wherever, like family-wise, business-wise, somebody at the team is having a crisis. Like, what is your go-to tip for navigating these kind of situations, conversations, when you realize that maybe somebody is underperforming and you actually have to talk to them? Like, how do you approach this?
You mean in the team?
Well, yeah, I mean, team, or maybe some personal situations.
Sorry, because I didn't catch the beginning of your question, because we had a little bit of an internet issue.
Yeah, so my question was about how do you navigate through different kind of difficult situations or a conversation that you know you have to have with somebody who is either underperforming, or that that's a tough conversation that you have to have with another person, either that would be at home or at the office. Like, how do you approach this?
Having tough discussions is, of course, never easy. I think it's important to make sure that you do not push things up for too long, and that you go into the discussion with an objective to solve the problem instead of, well, depending on what the problem is, but you can also be disappointed at people or angry with people, but to try to solve it, because a lot of the time it's not something that's done out of malice, right? And you can interpret, for example, even like a person showing up late all the time as disrespectful or something, but maybe there's a really important reason that has nothing to do with this, right? Things happen. So I think it's important to really find out what has caused certain things, try to solve the problem together, and also try to hear the other person. I mean, these are quite basic rules for effective communication, right? I must say it is stressful. So try to at least, like I said, work on your appearances. Try to at least not cause it to become more stressful by bringing too much emotion into the discussion, right? Especially if this is a professional situation. If you are very upset, I would recommend maybe you write an email, you think about really sending it, maybe read it again in an hour or the next day, if this is really how you want to phrase yourself, because we all know that when you write things can be interpreted very differently than how you intended it to be. I can be quite like brief, for example, and maybe that can come off as brisk, while you just actually wanted to be efficient and not write a 10-pager. Because it's easy to read emotions into emails. So the same goes for you, right? Maybe you interpreted a message as not so positive, while in fact somebody was writing it in a haste in their car on their phone, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, go on.
No, I think that's what I had to say. I mean, it's a complicated topic, and very much depending on what has happened, and if this is family or this is work or friends, right?
Mm-hmm. How do you handle situations when the other party is becoming too emotional at times, when you actually have to have this conversation?
Well, I guess it depends, because again, if this is personal, if this is work. So if it's personal, it's not hard to take things personal as well, right? But if it's work, then I think your personality is something, your person, is different from, for example, how you performed. I don't take it personally if somebody says, I prefer if your deck would have been in a different color scheme, then, just you're trying to do something that will make your client happy, right? So it's not like you take it the wrong way if they want improvements, for example. So I think it's a very broad question. So I would, if you want to narrow it down, maybe I'll give a better answer.
I would go for the professional side of things, you have to have this tough conversation with a person that you already beforehand know is going to get emotional. So eventually they do. So what is the go-to tips to navigate this kind of conversation?
Well, so my current business model is essentially that we are in a partnership, and that makes me at least be able to demand as much as they can demand from me, I can demand back, so that everybody's happy and we are actually producing something that we are all okay with. There are certain team members that might not have understood that I am not just a service provider that is there to do whatever they ask for, because some things are simply, harming them because they don't have the full picture. And if I push back, it might be interpreted as, a bad service because they ask for this and I don't want to give it, right? But then probably it's important to go back to basics and say, the reason why I'm pushing back is not because I'm going to be very one-sided. There is a reason. So let's talk about why I'm not okay with doing it your way, because I think if it's harming you, it's harming us, right? So I am having our best intentions in mind, but sometimes exchanges could go, very fast. I am aware, there's one person signing a contract, so there's no reason to assume the entire team knows on what grounds we decided to enter into a partnership, right? So that is, then I can probably come off as bossy, for example, because I have my opinion, or I will not do what you ask me to. But, I'm trying to explain, of course, the reason for it. It's not just a no to be right? I'm just I'm trying to actually do my consulting part here and do something beneficial. I've heard many times, hey, we'll do it your way, but if it doesn't work, it's your fault. But so far it has worked. Fingers crossed.
Okay, great. Well, that's a good start there for sure. I know, from personal experience that you are super busy now, now and, months ahead and before that. How do you keep your productivity up? Do you have any, some sort of rituals or processes that you do to actually spike your performance, or, the days when you are feeling super unproductive, maybe you have something that you do to actually boost your energy up? What is your go-to hacks for this?
Well, so I think why I can endure this pace is because I'm probably a workaholic. So in that sense, I'm not very good at taking care of myself when it comes to, go for a walk, etc. I know all these things are good for your brain and your long-term health, etc. But I must say it just doesn't happen. And I think I have been living a life since always that I feel it's just a lot of chores. And of course that escalated when kids came into the picture. It's easier for every year because they're more and more self-sufficient. But nevertheless, I think I'm still waiting for the day where I said, okay, I'm going to start going regularly to the gym, or I'm going to take and have weekends to actually be weekends. Right now, it's still not like that. So what makes me endure all this is because I actually really like it. So I mentioned to you when we once spoke, I didn't have an ambition to become a professor in academia ever. And the funny thing is that I thought, I don't want to write grants. But the thing is, those grants are for 20, 30 years on the same topic. And you just do not want to see that anymore, ever. Although you probably love your field of research, you just don't want to say the same things over again. And I can imagine this is exactly how the management team feels when they have to pitch their solution, their company. And it burns them out because for it's constant fundraising, and you have to be enthusiastic every time and pretend that you haven't answered the same questions 1,000 times before. And I can see how that's really hard. So what keeps me going is that every time I get a new project, a new client, I have a completely different field, and I am actually getting, paid to learn something new and be excited. And it's, these wow feelings and aha feelings so many times a day when you discover something. That is like a addiction to your brain, just like people who are addicted to sports. So the hack is, that the work is fun. It's important to have a meaningful, fun job.
Absolutely. I mean, talk about cliche quotes and everything, but this can't be more true, love what you do and you will never have to work a day in your life, right? So it can't get closer than that.
Yeah, I mean, I catch myself speaking about work with my neighbors, with my kids, with my friends, because it really is what's on my mind. And it's not the problems, it's, how amazing something is. And I tell some people sometimes, you see, there's this is the upside of where your tax money goes. It's not all bad.
Absolutely. Right. So keeping track of the time, I think that we are going to round this up as well. Like my last question to you would be, what will be your kind of inspirational message to the young ladies out there thinking about pursuing career either in science or in tech or starting their own business, or maybe even, like mothers of 2, 3, or how many children, and they are thinking like, I'm done with, kids. I want to do something to empower myself. Like, what would be your suggestions to them? Or, inspiration.
There isn't really, the right time for when you're going to start to live your dream or try something out. I mean, if you look at anybody who did anything ever, they had failures. So you have to start, and you have to start failing, and you have to start doing. And not until you do will you actually find out if you like it, because sometimes it's, the grass is greener on the other side. But when you try it, maybe it wasn't your thing, but you don't want to die with regrets, right? So you at least want to try it to know that you liked it, or you failed, or you succeeded, but it's your life. It happens once, and there are no subjects that are just too hard. There are people who are doing it, so why not you? Maybe you need to catch up on certain skills. Maybe you need to read up. But then do it, And there's so many tools right now that are available that are actually free. So there isn't really an excuse to say that I don't know this well enough, etc. It just takes work. And it takes consistent work. You do baby steps every day. And, after a year, you had actually made considerable progress. So, it's not a very deep, I guess, advice, but you have to start doing it someday, and, it can be today. So my work right now is essentially, I got the question, 2 weeks ago, I don't really get your business model. And I said, because I do whatever I feel like doing today. And now I decided I want to learn about personally, investing from the actual side of doing it. It's different to hear things in theory than to do it in practice. So that's why I'm here right now. I was on several events now, etc. So I'm building my network, and that's something I have been curious about for years. And now I'm trying to focus on that.
Amazing. So maybe we will catch up in a while, and you will tell us how it is to be a business angel. And
that would be amazing. And I am also, because you said supporting women, very indirectly, I feel like I've been taking on a couple of people here and there to do some kind of mentoring, because I just got really intrigued by what they're doing and who they are. And I keep kind of trying to support them without any formal. We just, when I have something to offer that I think that would be valuable to them, I reach out, etc. And we keep in touch. And it's just nice to see that things are moving forward. So if people would be interested in that, I'm all ears. So I think that's also very important. I never had mentors. And I think that also cost me years of just, not really knowing what to do. And as a woman, if you do want to have a family, you know that a few years are going to be kind of cut out from your career. So it's good to not completely just not know where you're heading. It would have been really nice, actually, to have mentors.
So, ladies, please, if you have some interesting ideas that you would want to share with Kamila, don't hesitate to reach out. She will be definitely happy to help.
Yeah, I would love to hear from you, especially if it's deep tech related. Then I probably have something to offer and a warm network of people, good people.
That's amazing. With this inspirational and happy thought, I would like to finalize our episode today. So thank you so much, Kamila, for jumping on board and sharing your story. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
I'm sorry. It was a pleasure. I interrupted you.
No, that's all right. Yeah. Thank you so much for being here. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to subscribe. We have episodes coming out every 2 weeks, and don't forget to follow us on social media, on Instagram and on LinkedIn. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Kamila, and have a great day. Bye.
Bye.
And that brings us to the end of Season 2, Episode 5 of Baltic Boss Babes. A big thank you to Kamila Ogletska for sharing her incredible journey, from raising millions to support deep tech startups to mentoring entrepreneurs and turning cutting-edge science into global success. Kamila's story is a true inspiration for anyone looking to make their mark. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to Baltic Boss Babes. We release new episodes every 2 weeks. You can also follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn to stay connected and never miss an update. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Baltic Boss Babes.